Okay, so from my side, um, I
Some
want to talk about
tools.
the project layout, the instructions document,
Hmm.
um, and that's about it. I got some interesting chat, but that's all by the by. Um,
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so how about we start with that because that will inform what I've done with AI Overlord
all
because
right,
I
cool.
think
So
there's quite a lot of convergence going on, which
this
is quite interesting.
this generating code by just talking to a bot um, has been going really good. The main part is the main power I want is the ability to make updates or patches to the system
Mm.
um, very rapidly and with minimal change. Like I want it to be very stable when it makes an alteration. And so what I did was I think this is the missing set of instructions is how to run a project when you're only doing prompting. Um,
Okay, so talk me through. I've read through this twice.
this
I
is a
also want
new
to do it a
one
third
that I
time.
just did a crushed
Ah,
version of,
okay.
which is significantly shorter.
All right. So,
Right?
in essence, you've given, as far as I understand, you've given some requirements for it. What's the overall? This is the knowledge structure I've been talking about, which is quite interesting when you come to the
Yeah,
briefing folder. So it's like here are the folders. Here's what the each internally each folder does.
yeah,
You can drill down if you like,
yeah.
but this gives you all the context.
Right, but it specifically stays high level. So, for example, if it's a code file, I only want to see the functions that have been exported from that code file. If it's a test file, I want to see each test that's been run there and why. Because, like, so instead of having comments in the test file, putting them in the project map means that they can be consumed in one overarching gulp,
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, I've been doing something similar with the readmes.
right?
That used to be the so what's.
And then, so with the readmes, like, because what I'm shooting for is update stability. Like, I don't. So O1 Pro is very, very good at staying stable, where you give it a dock and you tell it some changes you want made to it, and then the changes come out and they're not, they don't jump around, or they are fairly minimal. But
Mm-hmm.
um, the steerage, I was losing a lot of time trying to steer it. But if I did steering in two passes, where the first pass is just agreeing on what the layout of the document is and what order these things go in, and if you can get that bit right, then the generation of the document is significantly quicker
Yeah, I'm
because it
seeing that.
requires less.
Yeah, I put that into. Could you do us a favor? Could you pull up um, reasoning briefing folder side by side because I think that would be quite helpful to see where there's differences between what you've done
Where is
and
this thing in the reasoner?
in Reasoner repo. Yeah. Um, do, do.
It's this one here, right?
Yep. And then if you go to briefing, there you go. Okay. And right. Oh, actually, no. Um, that's the input. If you go to prompts, AI Overlord, that would be more helpful, more succinct.
Okay, which one?
AI Overlord, and then yeah, the MD itself. So if we can get those side by side, let's do a compare and contrast because your thinking is remarkably similar to my thinking. I think. So what you're just saying is if you give it an idea of the structure first, then it gets it better. Is that, I think, what you're just
Yeah,
going
if you
over
do
there?
it two passes where one's high level followed by the actual rendering, will be significantly better.
Got it. Okay, so if you drill down, if you go down, sorry, uh, further down, further down. Okay, so this is the
So my understanding is that prompting doesn't really work as well with O1 Pro. Like this language is prompting language.
yes, but it seems to be working pretty well.
It does work. Okay, cool.
But the point is
I read this document. So what are you trying to contrast with?
no, I'm trying to compare and contrast with your thinking, step by step. So if you go up a bit there, right, and down a bit. Sorry, this is difficult because I can't show you my screen. If you go down to the next section and stop, what will you be given? Right, okay. So this is the pre-stoking of it. And because, you give them these strategic tasks and then the folder structure, what you've got is a set of effectively 5 iterations to get to the point where you've got some really quite sensible stuff coming out, which seems to converge quite closely to what you were just saying.
Yeah. So is the basic the loop that we want to run through command? Are we settling on the name of command? Because that's really what it
For AI
is.
Overload or
No,
for
command is a long-running object in our universe, so to speak. Whereas I don't really want an AI overlord. I do want a commander.
give just for the transcript, give definition of command.
I don't. It is what you're doing with the overlord. It's just
Right.
a rename. That's all.
Okay, easy enough. Yep, happy with that.
So is the operation of the commander? You give it a bunch of context files, and then it will give you back a specified structure of like.
Yes.
It'll give you back a time budget, possibly a cost budget.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, how can we? I see what you've done, and it looks like traditional project management, which is not wrong. But what I want you to entertain is the concept of if it's not a linear project, if it's a network-based project, then what the output of this machine should be is money against task. It should be escrows against stacks. That's what it should calculate, not traditional. You go do
Okay.
this.
You've jumped ahead there at the moment because this particular command is for you and I, but you're talking about
Yeah,
Dreamcatcher.
no, no. I'm talking about you and I because that's really what it should. Like, why would it not be that we follow that same incentive structure?
We can do, but at the moment, if you switch to the first link that I just sent over, because you've not had a chance to see this yet, and then
I'm
go
not
to the
sure if
bottom.
this is the first one. Do you recognize it?
If you go all the way, no,
Is that the
that's the
second one?
one. That's the
Okay,
second
so
one.
that's the first one. I'll put that there. And
Trail down to the bottom.
to the bottom. There we go. Ta-da.
It should have suggested. Is that the right one? Priorities, activities, references. go to the other one? I might have got this mixed up.
Alt of
Hang
where
on,
to the
I'll
bottom.
come off my headset and make sure. No, that is definitely the fresh one. Okay, so let's back to the next one. What I was looking for is it proposed what our tasks are. Oh, there you are, and give an estimate of what the time based in AI time, as in tokens, and the priority on referencing our transcripts only in December. Haven't gone back prior to that.
Okay,
So
I
this
think
is
that for it to make any kind of estimate, it's going to have had to store the history of the task.
yeah. Oh, it's totally making it up, but it's
Yeah.
doing it relative. So we can only look at this as relative. So 5 jube tubes versus 3 jube tubes.
Yep.
But as it gets more information,
Yeah.
it's likely to be able to do that.
Tell me what the issue is, or the distinction, the bit that doesn't mesh. What like why can't you
Uh,
convert this to be
no,
stuck
quite
based?
no, quite opposite. I'm saying that actually there's a convergence between what you're doing and what I've been doing, which is quite interesting. So if you can flip back to yours, and I'll shut up for it, and you can talk through your project map. I suspect
Okay.
there
Well,
is
I
quite a lot of
don't,
overlap.
I don't see the overlap yet, so I'll keep going with
Well,
this thing.
yeah.
All right. So the idea of the idea of being able to generate first of all a blank project. So you'd sort of start with an existing project map that was for a similar task. Like it could be like React components, or it could be a CLI, or it could be just a pure nap function.
Yeah.
And then you'd reason through your project root first, and you'd focus a lot on the structure of the README first, because you're designing top
Mm-hmm.
down here.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
then what we got here is a list of dependencies, because it seems that controlling which dependent libraries the code is based upon is the strongest way to steer the how the output goes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That
Yep.
seems to
Yep.
be like that's maybe 1,000 times leverage over just telling it what to do. You're like, you must use this library, and it totally shifts how the whole project gets generated. I wanted to add a special feature here that is a sub project, where if the project was made in this format, then
Mm-hmm.
a sub project can be set up as a dependency of this project, which allows you to use the concat tool to, for example, only pull in all of the reasoning that happened within the project, or like all of the dependencies. Like you can filter um, in a nested way. Like we can make this thing walk the hierarchy between these reasoning domains. If you think of
Right.
each
Right.
module as a
Yeah.
reasoning domain,
Exactly. Which is the drill down thing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
so you only deal with as few readmes as you can,
right,
and then you expressly ask it to ask you for more information, or it,
right,
cursor style can
right.
go and get it
But you
itself.
can, if the projects were peers, then I can still use the same concat filter to pull in all the reasoning. Like if I want to reason about a collection of modules and their interfaces together, I would
Mm-hmm.
pull in the project map, which defines what their interfaces are, and then I would pull in the reasoning that described or sort of reasoned through why this module needs to exist and what sorts of features it has. And
Mm-hmm.
then that would allow me to fairly accurately reason across multiple modules, which is the next.
Yep.
So far, all of my ranging shots have been for individual modules.
Yep. Same here.
And
Yep.
now I'm like, okay, I'm ready to do a ranging shot on a collection of modules, so like a multi-package project, um,
Mm-hmm.
whereby I need because I need you need to keep breaking down into modules, or else the project gets too big for the context window, which I think is also a sign that it's too big for my head as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what am I really trying to do if I can't fit in the context window? That's sort of the issue there. But
Yep.
being able to have these nested projects underneath allows you to greatly compress or reduce the amount of context that you need, because you're only dealing in the knowledge about the module, no
Yep.
code, no example files, no anything like that.
But with concat, you can also bring together disparate modules and then
Yeah,
reason
yeah,
based
yeah,
on this one, this one, this one. It's
yeah.
the
And
discovery thing I
so,
was talking
sort
about.
of,
Yeah.
one of the ideas I've been toying with is how I might be able to relate this project map with the NAP schema, because it's very similar, but not exactly. And so I'm not 100% sure how to do that, because the next step in my plan is to make the modules that I've made into naps,
Mm-hmm.
and then import one nap from another nap. And
Mm-hmm.
then if I do that, I think that I can make this project map complement the nap schema. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
way of, like, I'd slot the nap.json would be like a line in there,
Yeah,
and
it's pick and mix
yeah,
project.
and then it would list the tool calls that it exposed,
Yeah.
and that's how you could reason about the nap exports of a package, as well as that's why the dependencies key is important, because the naps have dependencies that are naps, and so we need to be able to reason across both a map. We need to reason across an array of packages, but also a tree of packages, so that we can understand or figure out the best way to modify the tree to achieve the changing goal that we have.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
same approach. I'm effectively the same approach. Unless I'm missing something, this is
Well,
pretty close.
yeah, but that's just how you make code now. And I'm wanting to talk to you about what the purpose of the specific code that you're making is, which is different to the layout. The layout surely must be the same between
Well,
what
where's
you do.
your strategic and tactical breakdown of your intent?
I have no idea what that means.
If you flip back to reasoning tab and you go up one, and actually no, sorry, to reasoning and then briefing. And then strategic tactical tasks. Okay, this is the why. This is what you're trying to intend. And strategic obviously is higher level. And tactical is, okay, in order to hit the strategic tasks, you need to hit the tactical tasks. Now, I'm mostly interested in what you're thinking about the format as opposed to the actually what's stated here. This is just based on our December conversations.
I don't like the distinction between two different classes of task.
Really?
I
Why not?
don't.
Because that's if you were trying to do something, you'd want to say, right, here's the head mark. Right, what do we need to do in order to get to that head mark?
Yeah, but they're not. You don't need to declare them differently. Like, it's still the same
No,
thing.
no, I disagree. Um, So by
I don't.
strategic,
Yeah, I don't care to debate that. I don't think it's gonna
okay,
make
all
a
right,
difference.
I disagree
Cool. Okay.
quite strongly on that one. I think you do need a task breakdown.
Sure. So at some point in the future, we need to shift to working on stacks, like stacks with dependencies, stacks with parents, um, all of that, right? So everything that you've defined as a tactical task is going to be a
Is a
stack,
stuck
right?
is a work is work to be done. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And now what uh, I am starting to expect from this machine is the calculation of the dependencies between a bunch of first of all the definition of what are all the things that need to be
Yeah.
done, and then what is the dependency between them,
Yeah.
and then what is the importance, where the importance is ultimately like we set that at the top level, and then it ripples down through the dependencies to say, well, if that's really what you want, then you need to shift all these things
Right.
in this
Right.
way.
Right. Exactly.
And
So
and the last thing I want to add to that is the value that it should place on it, and it should be talking in terms of units of value that it places on it, not not this is too blunt. It
yeah,
should
yeah, 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 for sure. But
it
remember,
should be
this is like
value.
this is zero shot.
I know that. I'm talking about what I think it needs to be.
So if you go up one again, let me take you through what the briefing notes are. So what you just said is it needs the definitions. So basic definitions is a concat of innovation, domains stroke innovation. So it knows this is this is what we mean by that. If you go back up one,
Okay.
this is exactly.
If possible,
Mm-hmm.
don't commit concats
Yes, I'm moving those off. I don't know if you saw that
because
in that last thing.
because it's
The but
why did you
you
need to
you
make the
do
file named basic definitions though? Like why?
because in order to instantiate the commander, it, it all it has is the prompt.
Yeah.
So you need to tell it what the hell you're doing.
But why it needs a concat of the reasoning domains, but you don't need to store that in a
Sure, and if you can do it dynamically each time, that's
well,
that's better.
the way I've been doing it is that if you don't put the file name, then I've added the concat.txt to the git ignore, and so you can leave concat files littered around the place and they won't get caught up in git. And so
Yeah. Okay.
I just
Yeah.
have
Okay.
them on the file system because, you know, even if your computer dies, you can read the generated files, you can make them again. And then
Yeah.
that's the workflow I've been doing. And so
Yeah.
each folder typically just has I've ended up with a bunch of concat.txt files littered about the place, and I just open them up, copy, paste, bang.
Yeah. I've written a bash script to do exactly that to recreate this briefing given now.
Yeah. So the
Um,
feature I think you want at a concat for that is I think you want a .concat rules file where you can
mhm.
make a little file in a particular folder that has the configuration of concat, so that you can just go concat and it reads the concat rules, and then that's what you want,
That's
right?
close actually. If you go to reasoning and then I created a folder bash, and you'll see in a really rubbish way. Um, it's like right, do that. So you need folders, you need the briefings, readmes, transcripts, definitions, create those so that I can then feed that into a new instantiation of the commander.
Right. Yeah, I see what you want. Yeah, you definitely you just made yourself a concat rules file
Yeah,
without the cooperation of concat. Um,
exactly. Yeah.
okay. All right. So that's something we'll have to do. I think that's a long-lasting thing too, because even once we get API access to O1 Pro, we can still concat's always important. Like what is the context to be stuffed into this model is
Right,
always is
right.
always a thing, right?
And also, as soon as you add in any new information, now that could be a transcript from this conversation, or it could be the Overwatch tower.
Yep.
Um, you want to be able to stuff it in every time something changes,
Yeah, it
and
needs to be refreshed. It needs to be
yeah,
dynamic.
yeah, and
Yeah,
then you want to be able to compare that with, or allow the command to compare with previous and reason about previous. And it's like, you guys have gone down a rabbit hole. You're saying you're doing this,
right.
and actually, you shouldn't.
Okay,
Um,
so again, the output I would expect is actually a list of stucks in order, um, with different values put against them, and what, as an example of how we could manage the difference between you and I, is that we can each have a different currency,
mhm.
and the commander assigns the currency to each stuck, so that like tasks that indicate that we need to collaborate would have a high currency unit for both of our respective currencies, right? Like you can be in pounds
So,
and I'll be in NZD or something like that. And it's basically saying that it's trying to incent us differently because we have different qualities and different roles to
well,
play.
it's trying to do more than that. It's trying to match. If you've got a high value thing and I've got a high value thing, and they both have interdependencies, then that's the thing that I should prioritize. If my thing is high value to me and low value to you, not so much, and vice versa.
Well, when you say high value to you, you mean because you want it or because it calculated that?
Because it calculated that, because the commander, when it's read in the transcripts, and I'm
Right.
saying, "What am I doing?" and it goes, "You're doing this." It's like, well,
Yeah, I
you're
think I want to change what that expectation is. It's not you're doing this, it's here's all the money. And, like,
yeah,
what's the put?
we
But
could
there's,
but we could break that up into, let's say, uh, 10, 20 tokens each in a day, and each token represents 25 minutes of our time.
no, that's a different thing. That's not, you're still thinking in the realm of forced allocation. I'm talking about allocating carrots, not sticks.
Right. So how would you do that then? What would be give me an example of how to anticipate value?
It is the exact same calculation as priority, except it simply takes from a fixed uh, value, call it 1,000, and
Mhm.
then allocates amounts out from that finite number.
So the prompt would go something like Tom and Scott both got 1,000 units. Oh, there's Scott units. There's Tom
So
units.
you got pounds, I got NZD, and the
Yep.
commander's got, call it a
Yep.
thousand. Nice easy number
Yep.
to spend.
And what we're asking it to do is, let me think. Pause.
We're asking for it to. Sorry, I'll give you your reasoning.
So we're asking it to, given its full view of the context,
Based on its.
allocate
Sorry.
those tokens
Yep.
about what is best for me to do
Yep.
and you to do based on the whole context
Yeah.
and the joint program.
Yeah. That's right. And separately,
Okay.
separately, we will talk to it about what the priority is overall. Like, I think that it has no clue what the North Star is, so to speak. We need to debate with it about what that is, and once we've sort of figured out what the destination is, then it its job is to work backwards so that we don't so that we're heading towards that state at the fastest possible rate.
Yeah, so I agree. So how I've done that in the shitty version is saying if I've not provided you with the strategy or strategic stocks, uh, ask for them or infer them from the transcript, and then that's draft,
All
and
right.
we'll
So
talk about
those
them
so
and you
those
agree
those
with it.
those very big lumpy stucks, we can't get away from not having those.
Yeah,
But we can be in operation with those being poorly defined and iterate on them. Right.
exactly, exactly. And if you can, we can go back to briefing into strategic and tactical, and just
Whereas
look at
like
strategic.
some of the actual some of the like today stacks could well be to define the 5 year stacks.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
So what am I
here's a
looking at, sir?
starter for yeah, that one. So the reason I like this is because exactly you just described what the strategic thing is. It's like, okay, so what we're trying to do now, maybe we can go higher level.
Yeah. So the these should not be, if you want to talk about strategic being something that's like very far away, like you're basically trying to say that you've defined strategic tasks as the ones that are the furthest that we can perceive.
Well, I was wondering, but I thought this was a bit too much at this point. Uh, um, Adding grand strategic. So grand strategic
No, man. No,
is
look, I'm not even happy that there's a two split. I think that they're all the same thing, but it's the hierarchy. If you arrange everything together, some tasks are the furthest, and some tasks are the closest, and that's the closest thing I can come up with that maps to the concept of strategic and tactical. But to me, they're all the exact same thing. They just the
can
order's
you
different.
can I ask for you to reword that? Because previously you were saying that um, what we need to do is to define the head mark,
Yep,
and then what do we need to do in order to get there?
correct. But the head mark is just a stuck. They're all just stucks.
Right. So then you're saying that there's a hierarchy.
Correct.
Okay.
There
So
are given.
strategic and tactical is a hierarchy. So if
Sure,
you look at the
but what? Hang
tactical,
on, hang on. Are
it'll
we going to
work
get
better
stuck in
out.
an argument where you're trying to push your definitions on me?
No, I'm trying to drill down about whether actually we're talking past each other on the same thing.
We are, but you've introduced new words. New words are bad.
Is it just a wording thing?
It's the introduction of a new word thing that's bad,
Uh,
and it's a
it's
distinction that is not. It's an arguable distinction, and arguable distinctions waste time. There's only a hierarchy of things to do. It's a
so if this were to be reframed as a hierarchy,
yep.
um, now the hierarchy, which I say enough, when you get the down to individual stuff to do,
Yep,
stuff to do can actually hit more than one above. So it's not a straight
absolutely.
tree.
Yeah, yeah, and you want those.
Yeah,
one of the weighting mechanisms ought to be multiple hits with one shot.
exactly. So what's your preferred way of doing this? Because I we are talking very very similarly.
We're talking about the same
And
thing, but what I'm only recently steering towards, recently being in the last 30 minutes, I've recognized that we should be steering towards a more general Dreamcatcher model as opposed to where I think we were both thinking as of yesterday, which was a traditional project management model. And I'm saying that it's actually very close for us to make the commander be Dreamcatcher compatible or Dreamcatcher native.
Um, and by that, if I understand you correctly, the only missing thing is that reconciliation of value in terms of generating dynamically a priority list for each of us about what to do.
Say that one more time, please.
Um, I think the missing thing is the generation of the assumption of value, the 1,000
Yeah,
slots
so
or
there's
1,000 tiles.
there's two missing things. Number one is using the concept of stucks to represent, like, if we can use the units in the reasoning domains that we already have and will continue to build upon, then the commander needs to learn nothing new. It's already has to work with those definitions because those are clearly things that we want to
Yeah, 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 yeah,
achieve.
yeah, yep.
And so
Yep.
if we can remove a translation layer, then it's even more native and even more simple. The second part, so that's the first
Yeah.
part that's missing, is that
So
it's not
it's the
native.
squidging down of the shitty version with our previous innovation domain definitions.
Reconciling it with the existing reasoning domains. Yeah, because
Yeah,
that's the first part that's missing, and then the
I see.
second
So
part
yeah,
that's missing is that its job is actually a forecaster of value, where it's actually acting as the funder. It's acting as an automated funder because it says that it takes it as read what we said we want to do, because that's something that we can all agree on is like over there, and it's only for today. Over there is where we want to go in 5 years' time, and then based on that, that's the machine, and the
that's
machine.
that's that's always been the hard part. And let's talk about this because we kind of always skirt around it, but never actually get down to what we mean by value. Because what we're talking about there is attribution, or a forecast of
No, no,
attribution.
no, no. Let me pick a different word then.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not trying to. It's not trying to achieve any kind of calculation for the value of the task. It's simply assigning assets based on the utility of the task to complete the big task. It's not trying to do any kind of calculation as to what attribution you're going to get. It's lower down, very simple. It's very pragmatic. It's simply
So
like, if you want to
it's
assault that thing over there, then based on everything I know, this is the path. And if I'm given this much money to work with, here's how I would split it out.
in terms of being nice to it, do we steer it towards if this is harder and more critical, as in by critical, define that as if it did not exist, you would not reach your task,
Yep. Um,
um, and it appears to be harder.
I can answer your question. I just want
Mm-hmm.
to quickly duck in with the statement that the the commander is a simplified version of funder because it's given the premise or the simplifying assumption that attribution will flow optimally at the furthest, once you reach the furthest point. And that's a very simplifying assumption because you don't have to navigate return on investment. It's just saying that if you get there, the best return you could ever get is to do that thing, which is typically, obviously you know more about it than me, but it's typically how a commander thinks. They're only told you need to take that hill, and to
This is
them they're like
is
maximum
yeah.
payout. Maximum
You're talking
payout
about
is
command.
Yeah,
command. It's called command control.
command control. Right, right.
Yeah.
They're saying maximum attribution is to follow my order and take that hill,
And
and
do it in within these
yeah,
constraints, but
with these
break the
constraints.
constraints
Yeah,
based on what you learn.
right.
Yeah.
Economically, minimal loss of life, all those types of things, and it doesn't concern itself with getting a medal along the way. It's just it knows that its purpose is to take the hill, and that's a very simplifying calculation as opposed to the more advanced selfish funder that's trying to figure out attribution that's coming back. That's a whole
Well,
nother
this
level.
is this is and your initial point on let's squish this, make sure that
Squishy,
this is
squishy,
aligned
squishy.
with the main stroke invention
Yep,
definitions,
yep.
which I accept.
Thank you.
What you say is maybe the route is
Can I answer your
if
other
we were
question?
yes, please, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was
What
just
what was it?
thinking.
What was that question?
I don't know. What was that question? Because my thoughts moved on. I was about to say that
Oh
what you're
yeah, you were
saying.
gonna. Sorry, sorry.
I was just confirming. I understand what you're saying is that actually there is um, uh, it's almost uh, the value. Let's say taking that hill is worth 100,000
Yep,
chip tubes,
yep,
and we want to take that hill. And here's what we care about.
yep,
We want to minimize our losses.
yep,
We want to take the hill as fast as possible,
yep. And
and maybe there
here's
might
the
be other
current sort of
ones.
capabilities of the team that we have.
Yeah. And what's the best deployment? Is
Yeah,
deployment of resources, isn't it?
it's a resource allocator, and that's it. It's not allocating resources based on attribution. It's allocating resources to achieve a singular specific outcome.
Again, it's not wildly away from where I was reasoning through this. It's not
Yes,
wildly
it's not.
away at
It's
all.
not. It's not. All I'm asking you to do is to squish out all the new words, the new language, the concept. Because if we can make it Dreamcatcher compatible, then it immediately works for more people than just us,
Well,
right?
that should be straightforward enough. And actually, after this transcript, I'll put it into this first thing, and it'll rename itself.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is wild
lovely,
anyway,
which
right?
is lovely. Yeah.
Just have a talk about it, and then yeah,
And the thing that I need to work on today then is given command control, which I know inside out and upside down. Um, how would you prompt in order to deploy resources in the most efficient way in order to meet an objective?
well, I don't think you can. Is the answer? I think that there are actually several strategies that we could choose to apply. Um, some of them are listed here,
Hmm.
uh, but it seems like it's ultimately going to come down to Monte Carlo. So I think,
Hey, my old friend Monte Carlo.
yeah, my old my old home. Um, so there are different strategies that you can apply to prioritize the task. I
Hmm.
don't think we need anything anywhere near as formal as these things, but we do need to be able to run a simulation.
Well, actually, we I think it doesn't matter if it's formal. It matters if it's diverse. Monte Carlo really looks at failure rates,
Mm.
and so having a diverse number of models to run against it
No, it's almost like it doesn't
converges.
matter. It's almost like it doesn't matter because the only thing that's of consequence is what are you doing next, and the assumption that the faraway goal is valid, and that's actually the only thing that matters.
Yes, but the whole Monte Carlo process involves running a whole bunch of
No, I'm saying that
what
there's
ifs.
yeah, but there's kind of no, there's almost no point.
To which part?
There's almost no point to run a to say what if on anything beyond what's the immediate possible next steps, because you can reduce the search space down significantly if you reduce anything you can't do right now,
Okay. I'll
right?
ask you a question. Because I don't understand why you're saying that. I'm sure you've got good reasons.
Okay.
There's the usual triangle of time, cost, and quality.
Yep.
And Monte Carlo really is okay. Let's maximize quality. Boom. Let's run that 1,000 times. Let's maximize or minimize time. Let's minimize cost or whatever. And then you get to some kind of in the middle of
Yeah.
the
The
triangle.
only thing that we need to minimize at the moment is the risk of infeasibility.
That no, that Monte Carlo would solve that by not converging.
I don't want to get stuck building multi-condo simulations just to be able to figure out what to do tomorrow. I, I, there's a simple way to do this to get started. Is is
Okay,
is
that's
is
brilliant. What is it?
it's to it's to plot out the risk between the destination and where we are now, and do the riskiest thing first.
Well, that is what we call a strategy.
Yeah. So there's different strategies that you could apply to how you could manage it, but the correct strategy for right now appears to be feasibility.
Right. But you can easily state that in the commander saying we want to optimize on the short period of time between now and the objective, or we want to strategize it. Our strategy is to hit the biggest risk items first so that we learn more, and then we'll tell
Correct.
you what our new strategy is
Correct.
once we
And
learn more.
there's going to be a heavy amount of back and forth where we define what the things are, define what the dependencies are. Every day we're going to learn more about, hey, actually this bit depends on this other bit and this bit doesn't depend on that. Every day we're going to delete some things, modify some things, add them. Um,
No,
that's a
I
that's
agree.
a, that operation is it feels like almost a separate operation, maintaining the Stux map, maintaining the map of the environment is a different exercise to charting a course through it, right? Because mapping is turns out quite vital, and that's something that this system, I don't know if we'd still call it the commander, but it feels like it's you can't be a commander without a map, and so mapping out all the things regularly. It's sort of like that you play those strategy games and you get the fog of war and
Oh
you
yeah,
can't
no, it's the
see
yeah, it's the what in military terms it'd be called strategic awareness. It's like what's happening
the
now.
awareness. Yeah, yeah. So the awareness is required for the commander. The awareness is related to the watchtower, but the awareness is essential for the commander. The commander can only chart as far as it can see,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And so mapping is an exercise that we actually need to separate out and do, because then you present the map to the commander and you're like, hey, this is the map as best we know. Find the best path based on this strategy. Today we're doing risk management. Tomorrow we might be doing profit maximization. But
And just
today
to
we're
tighten
doing
up
risk.
your language there, by best, what we're saying is this is the items that we want you to minimize or maximize. We want you
Yes.
to maximize the reduction of risk,
Yep.
or minimize time.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
but
Yep.
that's a choice.
Yep. And I think it's a very good simplification to say that the only tools at the commander's disposal is, apart from asking questions, the only tool is allocation of funds.
Yes, which is kind of the flip side of the coin on estimation. If and just right out of the box with a zero shot, it was giving. It should take 5 AI days. I have
Yeah.
no idea what an AI day was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
flip that on the other side.
All right. So
That's
let's.
what you're
So
talking.
that sounds like a unit of a working unit, and then I want to introduce the concept of making it aware of time, or basically being able to walk back through the commit history and be like, so this is the map today, this is the map
No, I
yesterday,
think
and
that's
it's
vital. No, that's
right
vital. As we're
because
saying,
from that it can learn, how did I steer, was it effective,
right,
like,
exactly, and that's that whole local minimum maxima thing.
yeah, yeah, and getting
Um,
getting good at that is a really fun deep exercise that we can really only do once we have the parallel processing capabilities of Artifact, because that's very much uh, a, a
sure,
lot of,
yeah.
yeah, a big heavy churn, but that will give us extra visibility, and I think that's a very saleable product to give to, um,
I think you're right.
somehow plugging into enterprise resource management, because that kind of question is like, here's all these things, they changed in this way, what comes next, like, that's a very,
Exactly.
very
Can I
useful thing.
on that, because I think we're in broadly in agreement. We've got details to think about, but I've just got a text that Judy's leaving for work,
Oh,
and
okay,
I
you want to call it
need
there,
to.
because I
Um,
gotta I gotta bounce too.
you got to bounce. All right.
Yeah,
Okay. Right. This is probably enough to get teeth into.
yeah, I'd say
Um,
so. Hey,
yeah.
um,
Right. Today I'll be doing another iteration of now it's called Overlord Commander. We'll turn into Commander.
cool, man.
Uh, and I'll see what can do with getting, because I do know this command control shit inside out, because I went to
Yeah,
command field for like
yeah,
a
I
year.
know, but
But,
don't let that stop you.
the and I might be over indexing on Monte Carlo. Yeah, but if I can go now, that'd be great, because
Yeah,
yeah,
sweet.
I
And
just want to
also mapping, the mapping part. Have a crack at
yes,
that, because that needs to
I'll
that works in with the
have to think
definitions
about that
and
one.
the reasoning domains. That works in with that mapping, and then yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll catch you later, buddy.
All right, man. This is heavy stuff.
Yeah, no,
It's nice.
fun times.
All right.